So Annabella. So I like this card. For priming in general, choose a character, dull it, and freeze it. I like that. That's actually kind of cool. And it makes me feel like the Ice Fire version is kind of where that deck is headed again. Although, I don't know. We haven't seen it much after that. I don't know if you have any opinions on that. That's pretty self-explanatory, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be a pretty good one because, your, what is it, Eminas can search this, or Torgal. I think you're going to search Torgal first, but if you already have it on the field, you can get this. I just don't know how many you would run. If you would run this at 3 or just 1. I don't know.
Personally, I'm a 1 kind of guy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I just think it's a dead card after you draw it. I wish I had like a dull ability, crack it, choose a forward and dull it. Maybe not freeze it, but just something.
Yeah, I could see that.
Then you can replay another one. But
moving on to Undead Princess. So when she enters the field, you gain a crystal, and your opponent discards a card. So that's interesting. I have not seen this card. So if we go back and look at the economy of crystals, you essentially have, I think we're a little bit further down now. It's not like a full 2 CP. I think on average your crystals are about 1.5 CP or something like that. If you think about like your 3 CP backups, they draw a card and give you a crystal, stuff like that. So long story short, though, you're obviously going to gain some sort of crystal value, whatever that value ends up being. So you're going to have some sort of economy over your opponent in that sense. And then it also makes your opponent discard a card. So if you are playing some sort of, heavy crystal deck where, like, even Warriors of the Crystal, where you're reducing the cost of those Warriors of the Crystal with that crystal that you're gaining, your CP economy actually swings pretty hard in your favor with this card. The fact that the opponent discards a card, which means you effectively made them lose 2 CP, and then you're also gaining a crystal at the same time. So I think that's interesting.
It's a pretty cool card.
Moving on to Wool. So this is our first Ice Warrior Light, if I'm not mistaken. I looked this up the other day because I was very, very interested. Ice Warrior Light. Yep, so it is our first Ice Warrior Light. During this turn, if your opponent has discarded a card due to your summons or abilities, the cost to cast him is reduced by 2. And when he attacks, you may discard 2 cards. When you do so, choose one forward and break it. It's terrible. I hate that card. But it's a nice Warrior Light.
That's about it.
Yeah. So we have Musician. Really, really cute little art there. So same cycle, tap, discard a card, choose a dull forward, deal it 5k. If it was lightning that you discarded, deal it 7k. So see, I like this if we're talking like Ice, Earth, Dark kind of deck. Like if you're looking at Ice, Earth, I don't want to say Chaos Arc because Chaos Arc's pretty much super efficient in terms of its dark cards anyways, but it is nice to have a discard outlet when you draw them like out of order or something like that. So the fact that you can just discard a card and deal something 5k, that would have been a lot more relevant with Yuna sticking around, but at this point it's not. I'm gonna be, we'll talk about Yuna when we get there. Do you have anything to say about this one?
Not really. I don't think it'll see much play, but you never know.
Kadaj. So at the end of your turn, remove him from the game. At the end of your opponent's turn, play him onto the game, or play him onto the field. So then at damage 3, when he enters, choose a forward and dull it. I think that's fairly terrible. I mean, that's...
Yeah, it's...
I think the EX burst would have been cooler on the first effect, and then leaving it the damage 3 the way it was. Because if I take him as damage, remove him from the game so that we can play him at the end of my opponent's turn, I think that would be cool. But the fact that... I don't know. The fact that after all of that, all we're doing is basically choosing a forward and doling it. I mean, at damage 3, it's kind of cool, you know, because then every single turn, if you don't swing out, I'm just going to dole your forward anyways. But, I don't think that's really great. Nothing groundbreaking, at least. Kuja. So when Kuja enters the field, you may remove an ice backup you control from the game. When you do so, your opponent discards 2 cards. Okay, so in the world of CP economy, that may or may not help you. It depends on how cheap the backup is and how much you have really gained out of the value of it. But when he's chosen by your opponent's summoner ability, if your opponent doesn't discard a card, cancel its effect. Okay, so that's not terrible. I just wish it had more of a lightning rod effect on it, to where it would force them to discard a card unless they wanted to let it cancel. Yeah, I'm not a real big, huge fan of that one. It's not good. It's not bad necessarily.
Yeah, I don't know. If it's a mono ice, I doubt it.
Yeah. So during your turn, you can dole 2 active ice forwards for Kujata, and it becomes free to cast. And then you can dole a forward and break it. So that is also cool. Just for the sake of doing this, cannot attack or block. So ice. We have Sarah Mobius. And that's it. So the concept that I was thinking of, ice doesn't really gain a huge benefit of this. If we look at like even like Earth, I think Earth probably gets the biggest benefit. Like Tama being on the field to protect, even though it can't attack or block, it still gains value from, you know, doing other stuff. Especially when you dole it, like with Guido or something like that. That's really, really cool. Water's going to have a little bit with Princess Sarah. You also have Maya in there, which, I don't know. I think that idea could be cool. The Vanille. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes later. But in terms of choosing a dole forward and breaking it, 3 CP is a little bit of a stretch, I think, nowadays, but that's not horrible.
I don't think it's going to see much play.
Yeah. Cripshay. So during your turn, he becomes a forward with 7k and first strike. Ooh, okay. So hopefully all of our little cycle here has a keyword attached to it. When he deals damage to your opponent, put him in the break zone. Your opponent discards 2 cards. Okay. Okay. I think that's pretty damn good. Yeah, so when he deals damage, so he's either going to run into something and basically break it, or you're going to have to discard 2 cards. The only problem is that they can play around that pretty well. So that's not like amazing, but I do kind of like that. I think in certain checkmate scenarios, I think it would actually be pretty interesting. But you're the monster guy.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like it, and I like the Behemoth too, because the Behemoth, like, the only thing is they're 7k. I wish they were 8k, because like Behemoth kind of does the same thing that Ifrit does. So if they don't block it, you're gonna kill something, more or less, either way. So it forces them to block it.
Mm-hmm.
But this would be in 7K. Most bodies are 8. It doesn't really do. It can do good things.
Yeah.
But most of everything's 8K now.
Very true. Speaking of 8K, our new Shiva. So when she enters the field, you freeze all the forwards your opponent controls. Again, would have been busted for Yuna. But when Jill primes into her, we freeze all the characters that they control. So that's actually really cool. And then, as I was kind of alluding to earlier, so for essentially 3 CP, it's a special +1, and then you duel her, your opponent discards 2 cards. You can only use this ability during your main phase. So I'm sure there's probably a little bit of a loop where you could kind of like keep your opponent at 0 cards in hand every turn. You would just have to figure out a way to keep adding back a Jill or a Shiva, but I think that's kind of interesting. I don't know how fun that's going to be, but yeah. I don't know if you have many thoughts on the Shiva there.
I think it's a pretty cool card. I do like how they included like the one colorless, because you can play it like the Fire Ice if you have a fire backup already.
Right.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yep. Next we have Sid from World of Final Fantasy. If your opponent uses an EX burst, your opponent randomly discards a card. So I think this card is a little bit of a hilarity card. I like it, but I think that it doesn't do anything if the opponent is smart, right? What I do think it does is a lot of times it's going to force that Luna Freya to cost 8 CP rather than 6. So I like that.
Yeah. I like it in Ice, Mono Ice, just because the simple fact, like, Mono Ice takes a lot of setup. So you're only shooting for 1 point of damage per turn after you do get set up and don't freeze everything. And if they do happen to use the X burst, they're gonna discard, and your Whis or your Biblos or something will get a effect off of that.
That's true, yeah.
Because like Mono Ice doesn't like attack much per turn. It just controls and then deals low at a time. So I think it does help with that, and it keeps up with the pace of the game. If they're trying to use the X bursts, they're still going back down.
I think it's great against Wall, because in the event that Refi is not playing a ton of disruptive EX burst, it's all like CP generating or retrieval or something that kind of benefits them. It doesn't disrupt you at all, and I think this really helps against like, hey, you're going to use that Kusith. That Kusith's going to resolve. If for whatever reason they're already handless, yeah, you can resolve that Kusith immediately, and then this is going to go on the stack and you discard whatever you added back. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Next, moving on to Sid Reigns. So during this turn, if your opponent has discarded a card due to the summons or abilities, the cost required to cast him is reduced by 2. When a forward enters your opponent's field other than from their hand, you can put him into the break zone. When you do so, break it. It's okay. I don't have a problem with it. I just don't think it's very good.
It's alright. It's good, but it's just 2 CP. And then it could be free.
Yeah. I like the fact that it could be free in a deck where, they're discarding cards outside of Ice. Like, I think if we had a card that made them discard a card that wasn't in Ice, you could obviously play this guy and do that. That's kind of cool. But, I mean, what are we really doing,
I think does this more or less stop the whole priming and stuff if you're playing the priming matchup?
So when a forward enters your opponent's field from other than their hand, so when you prime, it's not entering the field, it's priming.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's okay, Nick. It's okay, probably not, but it is.
Yeah. All right, so we've got a couple more here. So Charlotte. So you can only pay Ice CP to cast Charlotte. When Charlotte is chosen by your opponent, summons her abilities. If your opponent doesn't discard one card, cancel its effect. So again, I think that would have been good against Yuna. When a character enters your opponent's field, dull it and freeze it. All right, so the first effect is okay. All right, but it's interesting because if they don't discard, cancel it, and then if they don't discard, cancel it. So there's two situations where that's been brought up so far. But then when a character enters your opponent's field, dull it and freeze it. I really, really, really like that.
That's a pretty cool card for Ice.
Yeah. Next we have Summoner. So when Summoner enters the field, choose a Ice summon in your break zone and add it to your hand. That's decent. Put Summoner into the break zone. During this turn, the cost required to cast your next summon is reduced by 2. Yeah, that's pretty generic.
Yeah, I don't see adding the summon back to your hand is great, but like, you know, a lot of the Ice summons that you're going to be playing are like the free cast Ice that when an Ice forward enters, you can cast it for free, or the one drop Shiva.
Right.
That's more than likely what you're going to see in a mono Ice.
So I think that kind of alludes to the fact that most Ice summons are just bad.
Yeah.
Like if you break it down, like, and as someone who has tried to make Ice work, it's really, really hard, and they suck. I don't know what it is. They're really, really good when they hit, but then like they're so easily like manipulated and played around, and it's just not as good. If you play Final Fantasy TCG, there's a very good chance that you've purchased cards from Nerd Labs already. Nerd Labs has nearly 2,000 completed sales in just over the last 11 months or so, with overwhelmingly positive feedback. We're on TCG Player, but just as a little hint, if you follow the link in the description, there's no price floor when prices are updated on a daily basis. Always happy to support the stack. Let's get back to the video. So then we have Jill. So I really, really like this Jill. When she enters the field, choose up to the same number of characters as job icons in your break zone and or icons that are removed from game. Dull those characters. So very much in the same vein as the Kistis from a few sets ago. At the beginning of the attack phase during each of your turns, you may pay 1 Ice. When you do so, choose a dull forward and break it. So I love how passive it is at breaking things. It doesn't have to attack. It doesn't have to like become vulnerable or anything. The only thing it has to do is give an opportunity to move through phases. So that's kind of terrible, but I do like it. I think that it's really cool because on the turn that it's played, it can break a dull forward. And then from there on out, it has the ability to keep breaking dull forwards. So I really like the card. I'm kind of sort of into the Shiva, but I really, really, really like the Jill.
Yeah, I think I'm going to put the mono Ice with Clive Ifrit together again.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Next, moving on to Snow. So when Snow enters the field, select one of the 2 following actions. If he entered due to an ability, a Category 13 character, choose both, basically. Draw a card and your opponent discards a card. So that's not terrible because he becomes a 2 CP 8K no matter which direction you go. But if you play him off of the new Lightning, I think is pretty much what this is getting at. He essentially is free. Like, if you want to think about it that way, they lose 2 CP, you gain 2 CP for a net change of 4 CP overall. So that's pretty good.
He does have the Jobless C too, so that Fang can play him.
Yep, that is also true. Or she reduces it by 1, right?
Oh, she reduces it. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. She, you search for 1 and then it can be reduced by 1. Yep. Which, in that sense, it's gaining you a CP. It's net positive 1 CP for you, if you go that route. Which, again, is interesting. Well, you guys know what I mean. It's not technically plus 1 CP because he's not entering due to lightning at that point, but whatever. Then we have our knight back up, crystal generator, all good, all dandy. Halone! I'm pretty sure that's how that's pronounced. Watch it be like Haloni or something crazy. So when he enters or attacks, choose up to 2 characters if you control more than 6 or more, of the job 12, dull freeze them. Your opponent also discards a card. Alright, so that's pretty gnarly. That's actually really good. Dull and freeze 2 characters and they discard a card, so you're basically removing 4 CP away from them if you dull and froze backups.
Yeah, it's alright. It just depends on how the whole synergy works.
Yeah.
I do think it's pretty cool that it runs ice.
It runs them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got them all.
Yeah.
Now, I really like this Vasalis. This is a really cool card. So warp 1 for 2 ICP. And then when a warp counter is removed from Vasalis, you may play a forward of 5 or less with warp from your hand onto the field. It will only trigger if Vasalis is removed from the game.
I like it.
That's so cool. It's so cool. It's just the other cards in warp aren't there yet, I think is the best way to put it. They're getting there. I think the new Titus. Deck, though. I think the new Titus from last set makes a big difference. They're not quite there with warp, but I do think that card is a really cool card. Star Sybil. So when a forward you control is chosen by your opponent's ability, your opponent discards a card. Again, would have been great into Yuna. So when Minfilia enters the field, I'm sorry, did you have anything to say about Star Sybil?
No, not really.
Okay.
I just think it kind of costs too much to get your money back off of that. I mean, I guess if you're playing a deck that targets a lot, but yeah.
True. Like
they're gonna play around it.
True. Warriors would target a lot. When Minfilia enters the field, or when Minfina, not Minfilia, you may pay X. When you do so, search for a job 12 of cost X or less and play it onto the field. You can only pay X with CP produced by 12 backups or by discarding 12 cards. And then basically...
Pretty cool to ramp up on backups.
So, yeah, I was going to say, I think, does that mean Ice Wind is kind of like your core there? Because I know the Wind one color fixes. That's actually really interesting. And I'm pretty sure it's only 2 CP. 2 CP. And cost required to cast your job 12 can be paid with the CP of any element. So I think that's really interesting. I don't know that it's worth putting together. And then you can pay 1, tap 1, choose a forward, and freeze it, which that's negligible. It's not really that great. But
it's pretty cool. You could play this.
Yeah.
And then discard 2/12 to play the 1 fire. To add, like if you discard one of the wind, and then just play it back onto the field. Be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I know it's very certain scenario, but you can ramp up on backups like that.
True. Alrighty, guys. Kind of like the last video, we're gonna go ahead and cut this one here. I know that we're like I said, you're going to have a guest on our next video. So the next video for Wind is going to be quite the extensive video. We go through pretty much every individual card, and we have 3 opinions sometimes. Oscar's not a very big Wind gamer, so he's not going to have a ton of opinion on Wind cards, but our guest and myself would definitely have a lot to say about some of the Wind cards. So it's a little bit of a longer video, but hopefully you guys will stay tuned for that, and we'll kind of go from there. So till then, see ya.